First, I want everyone just to stand up. I personally feel like I need to breathe through a coffee straw for a second, so let's just breathe out through a coffee straw. All right, while you're breathing, I'm going to find the clicker. It is very silver. I just press the button. All right, I'm good. All right. During the design thinking workshop, stay standing, please. During the design thinking workshop that we did during the break, there's a lot of conversation about how these discussions we have often turn towards cynicism. And it's really easy for us to find the pieces of our education and learning systems that are very negative, and sometimes we actually lose sight of the possibility that we really have. So I just want to take an opportunity right now and in the next 15 minutes to hopefully flip that around a little bit and make sure that we're going out on an optimistic note. So to start that off, I'd like everybody to just look at the person next to you, and I want you to share very briefly one thing today that you heard that made you feel really optimistic about the future. So just do that right now. Okay. I love the optimism. This is awesome. I'm going to rein in that optimism here. I'm going to rein it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, there we go. Awesome. Hopefully everybody is feeling a little bit brighter and a little bit more optimistic. And before you leave at the end of the session today, I really want you to take a minute to look at these signs that we put up on the side of the stage. These are statements about visions for the future of learning and visions for how we can actually support that and how we can make that come true. And I'm challenging everybody to think about that as you leave today. It's how can you have a role in creating those futures? So we heard a lot of different things today. We heard a lot about personalization. We heard about the shifting role of teachers. We heard about online learning, and we heard about blended learning, and we heard about finding purpose and passion and all of these different pieces in education. We heard about a lot of different models for new schools. And I'm not going to actually talk about any of that. We've heard from people who are doing it very well this entire day. What I want to talk about actually is why this conversation is absolutely critical and why we need to make sure that we do it right. Because there is an amazing possibility for us that is, quite frankly, at stake if we miss it. So as Lisa said, I work for an organization called Singularity University. We are not a university, and we are not about the singularity. We are an impact tech engine. We're based right next door here at the NASA Research Park. And what we exist for is solving all of the world's problems. Super, super simple, right? What we do is we teach people all around the world about how we can take the exponentially advancing technologies that we have in the world today, and we can use them to tackle the world's most intractable issues. My role there is as Director of Impact and Next Generation Engagement. Makes me often just think of Star Trek. But what I do with one of these hats on is I work to activate millions of people around the world, youth, adults, educators, a global community, to come together, to work together, and to find a way to actually solve these major, major challenges that are facing our world. I'm also a storyteller. So when I was asked to give this talk, I decided I just wanted to tell you a few stories. So my story today is about a planet and some people. There we go. And people in particular who I truly believe, and I hope you will too, I truly believe have the potential to go out and impact billions of lives. So this is the Earth. This Earth is home to you, to me, and to currently 7.32 billion of our closest friends. That number changes by roughly 1 every second. This is a planet with immense problems. We know these very, very well. But this is also a planet that has immense possibility. It's a planet that is changing extremely quickly. How quickly? In comes a person. This is Gordon Moore. He's the co-founder of Intel, and in 1965, Gordon Moore observed a trend in the development of technology that roughly every 18 months, the price performance of technology doubled. In simpler terms, this means that every year and a half, all the cool stuff we have got twice as awesome, right? And that trend has actually continued with some discrepancies, but more or less continued to this day. And this is what we call, oh, sorry, and these are the wrong slides. Guys, can you cue up the correct slides? No. Okay, all right, we're gonna roll with it. So this is called an exponential growth curve, all right? And an exponential growth curve demonstrates that every period within this curve, something is going to double, right? I'm going to go back to the moon for a second to illustrate this. If I were to take 30 simple steps across this room, I might be to the back of the room. If I were to take 30 exponential steps, I would actually make it all the way to the moon and back, right? So exponential growth has a pretty intense power. The exponential growth curve is what is responsible for all of the crazy cool technology that we actually see around us today, because we are right where this red circle is, the knee of the curve. And the knee of the curve is where all of the really cool stuff happens. It's where we see the amazing developments around us, where we see robots and self-driving cars and 3D printers and bioengineering and gene editing and all of this really fun stuff start to take off. But for most of us, we have assumptions about the future that's coming. And this is the blue line here that I have labeled as reality. This is what we think reality is. The future is likely to look very similar to our past. We expect a pace of change that we have already been experiencing. The thing is, that's not reality. Reality actually is rocketing upward, driven by this techno-optimism, by the fact that technology is actually completely transforming our world. And what we see when this happens is deception. We believe that the things that are occurring can't possibly be real. You always hear people talk about, they are working on this, they are working on this. We remove ourselves, we distance ourselves. And this distance between our assumed reality and the actual reality causes disruption. That disruption, that disruption, it's not just about technology. That disruption is about society, it's about jobs, it's about economy, it's about education, it's about literally everything around us. So while all of this exponential change has been happening, and while all of this disruption has been happening, something else pretty cool has happened. Babies. So somewhere around the year 2000, give or take about 3 years in either way, just like Athena sprung from Zeus's hip, this brand new generation came right out of the knee of the exponential curve. And this generation is inherently different than any generation in human history. So what happens when you are born into the curve, when you are born right into this? So we talked about that assumed reality that most of us really go through our lives with. Well, that assumed reality actually doesn't exist in this new generation. Their assumed reality tracks that curve absolutely perfectly. And what happens when that is the reality you're born into? That deception becomes expectation. And that expectation leaves room for immense opportunity. It is that expectation that actually allows us to stand in this room today and talk about this. Talk about how we can radically transform our world and radically transform our society and the way that we learn and the way that we connect. It is enabled in many, many ways by this growth curve. That technology is sitting right in our hands. So I want everybody to take out your phones. I know every single person here has a phone. Pull it out, hold it up, and hold it to your chest and just give it a little rub. Just want you to appreciate it. You don't have your phone out. Come on, I want to see this. Give your phone a little appreciation. And while you're doing that, I'm going to tell you another story. In 1966, humans decided we were going to go land on the moon. And MIT developed the Apollo control module, It was described by IBM at the time as the most complex piece of software ever written by humans. It took a capsule full of people from our planet to the moon and landed them there safely. The phone that you are hopefully still cradling, because really it deserves it, is 86,000 times faster than the Apollo control module. It has 32,768 times more memory than the computer that landed a man on the moon. And you hold it in your pocket. It means that that baby is a rocket scientist. And frankly, so are you. But what actually makes this generation the most unique is that it's been born into a time in which we are self-assembling into humanity's largest communities. So who can name for me the largest country by population on Earth?
Facebook.
No, largest country by population on Earth. India. All right, right. We got India clocking in somewhere around, I want to say it's like 1.23 billion right now. And we've got China, I heard a couple people yell out, clocking in number 2. US, bringing it in, number 3, around 322 million. But thank you, kind sir, for jumping the gun. There are larger countries in the world, right? And we can round out our top 5 by tossing in Twitter on the bottom at 320 million, and Facebook at the top end with 1.591 billion. So this statistic is actually a little out of date. This is about 2 months old. It's actually now 1.62 billion for Facebook. That's how quickly it's growing. And these communities truly act as digital nations. We are connected in these communities by a common language. I'm going to poke you. I'm going to like you. We are connected by cultural norms. We are connected by a communication platform. We are connected by currency. We are connected by shared governance. We are connected by security. We're even connected by national identity. Did anybody in this room change the profile picture on Facebook at some time in the last year to say the French flag, the Belgian flag, a rainbow flag, anything like that, right? Are you from France? Are you from Belgium? No. Oh, there we go. So we're beginning to act as a unified community. We are redefining, completely redefining our definitions of borders and boundaries and what it means to be belonging to a group. I suggest this should be our new flag, actually. So what happens? What is it that we can enable when we have this generation that expects really remarkable things to come, that has this unbelievable power right in their hands, and acts together, acts as one group to solve problems? I'll tell you 3 stories of things that can happen because of this. On April 6th, 2009, 2 young women in Chisinau, Moldova, Elena Zagardin and Natalia Moraru, decided they wanted to do something about the communist government that was in power in their country. They tweeted out to some friends that 4 people were going to be getting together in the city center that evening to have a little flash mob. By the end of the night, their flash mob turned into 50,000 people in the central square of Chisinau and led to the world's first Twitter revolution, which we all know has now created a trend of revolutions, demonstrations, and change powered by social media in over 20 countries. On April 25th, 2015, a devastating earthquake struck Kathmandu, Nepal. And in the hours and days that followed, countries all around the world began responding to this amazing crisis. The United States was right at the table with $10 million in aid, saying, please, 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 here, we want to help you. The European Union came in. They gave $3 million in aid. But do you know who donated the largest contribution in the first week after the Kathmandu earthquake? Just come out and Facebook, right? Facebook actually topped the list of donors, and this was the communal group of users of Facebook. This was their 1.591 billion active users coming together and acting as one group to make the single largest contribution to people on the other side of the world who they had never met, who they suddenly identified with. They acted as a group, they acted together, and they acted to solve problems. When it was all said and done, there was one organization that was able to contribute a larger sum than Facebook, and it was the United Nations. The whole world combined was the only option that was actually able to beat this. So, what does this mean? If this is becoming the reality of our world, and this is a generation that is truly coming into its own, it's a rise of this generation that has potential and power and ability to impact billions of people beyond themselves, we need to look very hard at the structures that we build to support them. We need to think about all the things we're hearing today and make sure that we are designing and developing and launching education systems and social systems that support them, that help young people actually find their passion, help them find their purpose, help them leverage this incredible, amazing power, that rocket scientist that every single one of them has inside of them, to go out and do amazing things in the world and solve the biggest problems that we face. So for me, I'm going to skip that one. For me, my vision of future learning is for every person in this world, not just young people, for every person in this world, to be able to find the alignment between their strengths and their passions and the needs and the opportunities that we face in this world. And I believe that if we could all do that, we can impact billions of lives. And that is not just for you, that is not just for me, it's a vision for 7.32 billion people on this planet. And I hope you'll be a part of that.